Well, if you're Florida State and coaches are leaving at the end of the season, it's because you've most likely wrapped up another 10-2 or 12-0 regular season, and they've got better opportunities. But we know better. We know what the free fall has been this year, and Mike Norvell announced it here on Monday. Alex Adkins, offensive line coach and offensive coordinator, gone. Adam Fuller, defensive coordinator, gone. Wide receiver coach Ron Dugan's also out the door. We got Logan Robinson here from Knoll Game Day, of course, to break it down for us. Logan, how you doing?
Thanks for having me, Mark. We get to come on here. I get to come on and hang out for the fun, exciting times here. We were talking in the production meeting. It's been hard to be any kind of entertaining to fans and people that are listening and tuning in because we're just saying the same things over and over and over again, practically since September. And here we are. Florida State's made moves. Mike Norvell's made some moves that I think a lot of fans have been looking for, and there will be more moving forward. But specifically, these two coordinators and Florida State's wide receivers coach no longer with the program. Moves had to be made, and here we are with still 2 games left on the schedule.
So obviously, these are the same coaches that helped lead Florida State to an ACC championship and a 13-0 regular season last year. So on one hand, you think, oh, well, there have to be more problems, but you got to start somewhere and you got to clean house, and it becomes just an issue where you got to make changes. It's just an obvious route to go. Let's start on the offensive side, and you don't need to hear this, but I'm going to run this down for everybody else. You know, we're virtually talking about the worst offense in college football. They're just basically worst in scoring, bottom 2 or 3 in pass efficiency, rush offense, total offense, yards per play, anything you want to throw out there. You know, if you wanted to run a roulette wheel and just throw like 13 or 14 on the board, like every game of what Florida State's going to score, that's pretty much what they've done every week. It's like 13 or 14 points, and that's what they do. And it's just been a mess. So that's the first deal, is Alex Adkins out the door.
Had to be done. And, you know, I think for us as people that cover the team consistently and fans that are watching on Saturdays, yes, you did have that great season last year, and you saw that climb in the year previously, and you saw the success that offense was bringing to you. But I'll be honest with you, and we called it out. Alex Adkins' product as an offensive line that he was coaching last year wasn't great. It wasn't pretty. You know, who saved it was Trey Benson and Jordan Travis, who are now off in the league. Jordan Travis being one of the biggest playmakers during his tenure on the college level at Florida State, saving that offensive line from looking god awful, along with Trey Benson, who was one of the most physical, if not the most physical backs in college football, also in his tenure while at Florida State. So that offensive line was awful, and they relied a lot on these one-year transfers, some of these veteran guys to come in and try to maybe, I don't know, paint some kind of little distraction away that they couldn't develop some of the younger guys that you were expected to see from guys like Julian Armella, or if you're looking at Jalen Early, who we've seen, you know, we've seen him out there on the field, but has a product been great? No, you don't see signs of growth and improvement there as well from some of your younger guys that you were expected to see. And, you know, this is where Florida State, you know, I think, what was it, during Notre Dame, their 9th change and lineup at the offensive line unit. I mean, it's just, I never was a huge fan too of what Florida State was doing during his tenure with shuffling up offensive linemen. I don't think it created any kind of continuity. I don't think it helped build chemistry. I don't think it helped communication. Offensive line unit is not an easy position to coach, and it wasn't coached well the last few years under Alex Adkins, and that's a reason why he's gone. Yes, he can recruit. I think he was Florida State's top, you know, recruiter there, with maybe Coach Yak, Florida State's running backs coach, and also too looking, you know, what Mike Norvell has been able to help in and do his part. But still, recruiting isn't going to keep you your job in college football. What you put out there as a product will. And I think fans got tired of seeing where also too this year, your quarterbacks that you want to see signs, you want to see some growth and improvement from those two with Luke Kromenhoek and also Broad Glenn, but you can't see that. There's no fair game for you to see those two quarterbacks excel or have any chance of being able to read a defense looking downfield whenever the offensive line is whiffing on blocks, and one of your preseason all ACC tackles and Darius Washington is seeing a massive regression, along with your center with Maurice Smith. Keandre Jones is like a turnstile at a Disney park going in. That might have actually blocked better, to be honest with you. It was an atrocious product, and that's what led into, like you just said there, the rushing stats and yards. I mean, there was no offensive rush game at all this year. It was awful. So I think this was a big and an important move that Florida State needed and had to make in order to see the climb to a 180 in 2025.
Logan Robinson stopping by, of course. Noel Game Day is your stop for Florida State football coverage across the board. So check out Logan and the crew. It's Wednesday night at 7 Eastern.
Yes, still 7. Yes.
7 Eastern right here on YouTube with Logan and the crew. And then, of course, Noel Game Day on a regular basis for Florida State football coverage. So with Mike Norvell, anytime the head coach is this associated with the offense, this much considered an offensive mind, offensive guru, and then you go out and get an offensive coordinator, what are you looking for there? Another offensive line centric guy that is supposed to be able to address the offensive line, because it's more or less Norvell's offense, isn't it?
Yeah, that's something that we've been discussing, and put out a video today on our YouTube channel talking and discussing about Florida State's future in the play calling department. What is Mike Norvell going to do here? And, we actually heard from Mike Norvell earlier in his press conference. This was pre-planned, scheduled. It wasn't just build a press conference after the firings. This was already planned. So we knew that we were going to hear from Mike Norvell this week during the bye week on Monday. And in this press conference, he told us, he is open to bringing in a play caller. He was actually pretty straight up with it, which I liked hearing from. He said he's open to having conversations about bringing in a play caller. He says, we haven't been a good enough offense this year. It's been awful. We all know it. We've all watched it. Everything is on the table. So I think that's a step in the right direction, because what we've seen from Mike Norvell's offense, and not even just specifically this year, but last year, there's been some questionable things on some of the personnel that's being out there, some of the schemes that he's running on a consecutive basis, kind of not understanding things. And now I'll be honest with you, I think a lot of defensive coordinators, defenses that they're facing, it's too easy to read out what Mike Norvell and Florida State's offense is going to do. And so there has to be a switch up here. I do think Florida State, in order to see success in 2025, by success, I think reaching 8 to 9 wins. Success at Florida State doesn't mean that you reach a bowl game and you get 6 wins. That's just not how it's going to work. And I think, too, Michael Alford, Florida State's AD, and also, too, Mike Norvell understands that as well. In order to get to those 8-9s, win season, I think you've got to look into bringing in a sole play caller, and then also, too, like you were just saying there, Mark, an offensive line coach that can specifically be hands-on with that unit in development. Because I'll be honest, it feels like for a majority of my life, Florida State's offensive line has just been average, if not great. It never really. This year was supposed to be the best offensive line that we've seen in a while in a garnet and gold uniform, and it's been the worst that I've ever seen. And that says a lot because we've seen a lot of bad offensive line units at Florida State, Mark. So play caller necessary, in my opinion, to come in. And, that's where Mike has to evolve as a head coach more into that CEO role moving forward for Florida State.
Logan Robinson breaking down the Noles for us. He does that each and every day. Noel Game Day, Logan and the rest of the crew, and it's on YouTube here Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.